Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode number 130 of the Wise Guys Sports Show here on the Wise Guys YouTube channel and also on the JC Blue Note 24 Twitch channel, as we have gone multi-streaming platform in the last several months. I am one of your hosts. I am the Big Recon on Sports, Mike Martinez, and I will waste no time and bring in my co-host with the most, Mr. JC Blue Note, Jim Carnegie. James, happy Sunday. And for Browns fans, happy, well, maybe not so happy Shador Day.
Yeah, there's going to be people that are going to be excited about it. I've seen enough already. We'll talk about that in the second half of the show.
I expected this more.
Okay. Can we not do that right now?
I mean, at least I'll be able to tune into a little bit more college football to be able to try and, scout who they're going to be drafting in the top 5 next year.
We will get into that as well another time too. But been a couple weeks, man. Things are good.
I was going to say, did we remember how to do this in the week we had off last week?
Did we ever really know how to do this to begin with?
I mean, I did because I'm the one that's producing it. I should hope so.
I mean, the technical stuff is always on point. It's when you and I actually open our mouths that we start to fucking worry. Well, that's 2 Taylors in the first 5 minutes.
Insubordinate and churlish.
Very true. And speaking of him, another thing I don't know if you saw we have to talk about in the second half of the show about his lookalike.
I did see he was on Rich Eisen not long ago and did some more names.
I'm talking about the guy he impersonated.
Mr. Garvey?
No, the coach he impersonated.
Yeah.
Mr. Franklin. But, Jim, we do have a pretty, well, I got to be honest with you. Is this really the first time the blast is going to be longer, possibly more content heavy than the hat trick?
I mean, just because of all the games that we run down with the, with pro and college football.
Yeah, but what do you say we hop right into the hat trick? Let's get this puppy moving, but it's not on a great note that we start on.
Yeah.
It's the 3 biggest topics in the world of sports from the last week. Get ready for the Wise Guys hat trick.
And unfortunately tonight, these 2 Cleveland boys open the show with the passing of a Cleveland icon, as Lenny Wilkens passed away at 88 this past week. Won his NBA championship, of course, with the Seattle Supersonics back in the year I was born. But we grew to know and love Lenny Wilkens when he coached those Cavaliers in the late 80s, early 90s. the Brad Doherty, Mark Price, Larry Nance Sr., Craig Elo, Cleveland Cavaliers that just were always this close. If
And
not for some prick
unfortunately, it's
from
because
Chicago.
when Michael became a superstar, that's because that I think that might have cost the Cavaliers at least 2 championships back in the '80s. I think they could have beaten
Yeah.
in '86.
Yeah, they probably could have. They probably could have. But he was so good, Jim. I mean, you have it down there. A 9-time All-Star as a player, 1,332 coaching wins with 7 different teams. Of course, that championship we mentioned. A 3-time over Hall of Fame enshrinee. Now, there's not many Hall of Fames out there that do this. The NBA basketball is really the only one I can think of that does it multiple times like this. So Lenny was in as a player, as a coach, and what one of the teams he was on enshrined.
The college basketball Hall of Fame as well.
Gotcha. I mean, what he was a small forward.
Yeah, he was he was a point guard. Um,
He ran the
his
one.
coaching
Okay.
career spanned from 1969 until 2005. Played with career playing history. Started his career in 1960 with the old St. Louis Hawks. Was with the Supersonics from 68 to 72. Was with the Cavaliers from 72 to 74 and finished his playing career 1 year with the Portland Trail Blazers. And then here's what people forget. He was also a player coach during some of that time. He was a coach from 69 to 72 with the Sonics and then 74 to 76 with the Trailblazers. So immediately after his playing career ended, he stepped right into the head coach of the Portland Trailblazers, arguably most known for his tenure with the Sonics from 77 to 85, where he won Seattle their only championship as a player. I'm sorry, as a coach. And then the 86 to 93 Cleveland Cavaliers. He was also an assistant coach on the 1996 Dream Team, and also won gold as a coach with the '92 Dream Team in Barcelona.
Oh, that's right. He was on Chuck Daly's staff.
Yep.
That's right. Talk about Hall of Famers, dude. Even the coaching staff was sick with him.
1994 coach of the year, his first year with the Atlanta Hawks after leaving the Cavaliers. 4-time All-Star game head coach, top 10 coach in NBA history. Chuck Daly Lifetime Achievement Award in 2011. 9-time All-Star, NBA assist leader in 1970. He was part of the 50th and 75th anniversary teams. His number 19 is retired by the Seattle Supersonics / Oklahoma City franchise. His overall coaching record was not much higher than 500. He was only 536. He was 1332 and 1155. But you also have to remember some of those years he was with Atlanta. The first few years after the championship in Seattle, and a few of those years in Cleveland were not very good.
No. And did he break the wins record at one point in time? Am I remembering this right?
I am trying to see.
While you look that up, we do have some breaking news coming out just now. Jeff Passan of ESPN reporting first baseman Josh Naylor and the Seattle Mariners are finalizing a 5-year contract. The first major free agent to sign this winter goes back to the team he was on. That really, couple outs within the World Series. So good for Josh.
Yeah, it's kind of did well for himself after getting out of Cleveland.
You think his brother goes?
I could see it, but I think the way that he came on at the end of last year, I don't think they're going to let him walk.
Gotcha.
I think they value him for his defense because Austin Hedges can't hit his weight.
Gotcha. So yeah, that was tough this week. I know we spoke that day via text when we found out about Lenny and decided that we were definitely going to be leading the show with this. I mean, you think about the coaches in Cavs history. There's only a couple who are iconic. And the only reason there's two that are iconic is because Ty Lue won a championship. Other than that, the really iconic coach of this franchise, well, Mike Fratello. Those two, and Fratello followed Lenny, right? If I remember
Correct.
correctly. Okay, so three iconic coaches in this franchise's history. Two of them because they really rebuilt this franchise, and the third won a title. We'll see what Kenny Atkinson does, but right now he's already got the record for most wins in a single season.
I mean,
Hopefully he can.
I mean, the Cavalier coaches over the years, it's kind of a who's who. Bill Fitch was their first head coach. Bill Musselman, Chuck Daly, for 1 year. Although he was fired midway through that season. I'm sorry, he took over in an interim role. George Karl, Lenny Fratello, and then really after LeBron, it was just it was Paul Silas, Mike Brown, Byron Scott. We like to put that era behind us, certainly. David Blatt, Ty Lue, and then it just became up. Between Ty Lue, you had the Larry Drew and John Beeline era that was extremely forgettable, and then JB Bickerstaff, and now Kenny Atkinson already. I mean, Kenny Atkinson's already got a 70-80 win percentage in just over a season with this team.
Yeah, so I think the franchise that Lenny helped really put on the map for something more than the miracle at Richfield is in good hands. Have the Cavs announced anything special they're going to do for him? I know he's up in the rafters already.
I haven't seen anything yet. I want to say that they did something last night with Memphis, but
I
I'm
think
not
so,
sure
too.
really outside of that because I didn't catch the game.
Okay. I caught that they came back in the fourth quarter again. This team's starting to piss me off and make me happy all at the same time.
Lenny's
fourth quarter is-
1,332 wins are actually third currently in NBA history. Actually, this story was also well. Then again, yeah, this story fits because it was September of last year, and Greg Popovich had already walked away. But Don Nelson only led him by 3 wins when he retired at 1335, and then Pop at 1390.
And Pop's the all-time leader, right?
Correct.
So Pop, Don Nelson, and then Lenny.
Lenny Wilkens, Jerry Sloan is fourth. Pat Riley is fifth.
That's a hell of a top five, dude.
Yeah, and then rounding out the top 10, George Karl, Phil Jackson, Doc Rivers, Larry Brown, Rick Edelman.
How does Larry Brown have less wins than fucking Doc Rivers?
Larry Brown 1,098, Doc Rivers 1,114, but remember Doc is still active.
That's true. That's true.
And Larry Brown coached the Nuggets, Nets, Spurs, Clippers, Pacers, Sixers, Pistons, Knicks, and Hornets, and there were some bad teams in there.
Yeah, but he also won a championship and went to two finals. Maybe three. I think maybe three.
Yeah, well, Doc Rivers also had a title with those with that Celtics team and racked up a whole bunch of wins. But I mean,
oh, that's right. Doc was the coach of that team.
Yep.
The shit I forget. So a tough way to start the show, but definitely Lenny Wilkens. If you're ever talking about him, he is definitely one who leads off anything. Just for the impact on the franchise. I made the joke the one last show we did. The only franchise you and I follow together. So, rest in peace to Lenny Wilkens. Our thoughts and prayers go out to his family. And basketball lost a legend. Can't get around that, especially all the other shit going on in the NBA.
Yeah, it's he leaves behind 3 children. He had 7 grandchildren. Was also the founder of the Lenny Wilkens Foundation for Children in Medina, Washington, and passed away back on the 9th at the age of 88. So Lenny will certainly be missed by a number of franchises. I would say arguably right now, missed probably more by Cleveland than anything because all of his greatest accomplishments between player and coach and everything were with Seattle, and they don't have a franchise. So I would imagine if Seattle does get an NBA team, you figure when they expand, back to 32, you've got to be thinking Nashville and Vegas. I'm sorry, not Nashville. You got to be thinking Seattle and Las Vegas. Um, so you have to figure they're going to do so. They're going to like put something for him at Climate Pledge Arena when Seattle ends up getting a team back here, likely in the next few years.
Name the court after him.
Like
Like,
what Boston did with Red Auerbach. Yeah, I
yes.
I like that idea. I do.
So,
I
and
like that idea.
I mean, not for nothing, not to sound like this, but if it can be Nick Swisher Field at Mike Smith Stadium at Ohio State, it can be Lenny Wilkens Court.
I mean, you can almost make an argument that you could put hit. You could do it with Cleveland, um, but everyone's gonna. A lot of the people that remember Lenny are our age, and then a lot of people kind of resonate with um Mike Brown because of his two tenures with LeBron and everything. Ty Lue, they're only associate because of the championship year. I mean, you could say the same thing with David Blatt, but a lot of people are probably around our age, we remember Lenny, but we're probably a little bit more fixated on Mike Fratello from his broadcasting.
Yeah, I think that's true. I mean, because Lenny was the coach when I was going out there on vacation. His final season was when I first moved. And of course, Fratello was the one who opened the arena, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Lenny left at the end of the Richfield era. Okay. Yeah. So I have no problem if they did that. Or do something. Do something.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. He already is up in the Raptors. I'd like to be able to have, little something more for that. I mean, when Joe Tate passed away, they named the press box after him. Lenny had such a great impact on that franchise in the formative years in the 80s.
Now, let me ask this because I haven't I haven't watched a lot of Cavs local TV. Most of the time I'm listening on the NBA. Didn't realize I didn't pay for that thing. I'm still listening on here. Don't you dare. And then I get the national stuff on the YouTube TV. Is it it's the Joe Tate radio booth? I know that.
Yes.
Is it the Fred McLeod TV booth?
Yes, and I think they also named the film room after him. I mean, not to chill or anything, but when we go to games, you've seen we sometimes get the court side. So there is, I believe that they've named the video room because as they leave the bench, you'll see JB or now Kenny. They'll address the team, and then a couple of minutes later, as the fans are kind of filling into the bar after the game, the VIP lounge and everything, you'll have security kind of block that way off, so nobody can actually even leave the building at that point because you have to pass by that same entrance to get to your seat to be able to get to the elevators to get back up to your to the main concourse. And they'll kind of have security block that off because then Kenny and one or two members of the coaching staff, JB would do the same thing, would immediately just after addressing the team go straight into the Fred McLeod video room to be able to analyze some film.
Well, it's fresh in their mind. That's actually a really good idea. And somebody from Cleveland had it.
Or at least they're maybe
Well,
getting the game film because I mean, naturally, if it's back to back, you can't sit there and analyze, the film if you're having to get done and immediately hop a flight.
yeah. Yeah, if they're
And you
staying,
figure
I'm sure if they're staying.
that game's ending 9:30, 10 o'clock. You actually have to be into the net. Let's say that they're not going to play them back to back. But if they've got to head to Chicago or Brooklyn or Manhattan or down to Miami or something, you've got a even though it's a private type flight, You've still got half hour to Hopkins to be able to fly out of. 'Cause they're
Yeah.
not going to fly him out of Burke.
No, they don't ever fly him out of Burke. They fly out of Hopkins. I mean, it is the private terminal
Right.
out of Hopkins, but it's they definitely fly out of Hopkins. What's next?
So we go from a passing of a coach to a passing of a torch with the coaches. And the NFL coaching carousel kind of is in full swing here. And we're not even towards the end, as the Giants earlier this week fire head coach Brian Dable after yet another loss. And you're going to see some other changes happening in Cleveland and Miami very, very soon, as the Browns lose another one today. And yet Miami goes over to Madrid and gets a win, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit. Michael, who else do you think is likely to get shit canned at this point?
Let's see.
Does Aaron Glenn get the chop in New York
No,
after 1 year?
No. See, here's the thing about the Jets. Woody Johnson is starting to understand that continuity is his biggest problem. When you don't have continuity, and this is what Jimmy Haslam was trying to do. Unfortunately, Jimmy Haslam made a deal that handcuffed his franchise for a decade, and now he's going to fire his GM and head coach as part of it. Oh, did I say that out loud? It was either that or emotional damage, one of the two. But he knows Aaron Glenn is trying to change a culture with the New York Jets. For people who don't remember this, Aaron Glenn was drafted by the Jets. He was a damn good corner for the Jets in a time when the Jets were perennial playoff contenders. This was not the post Rex Ryan team. He was with Parcells. He was on a team that literally, if John Hall would have learned how to kick in the wind, would have beaten the Denver Broncos and gone to that Super Bowl against Atlanta. So Glenn was there during a high period with the franchise. He wants to take it back there and obviously get one step further. The reason I think they won't fire him is because he was on the staff that turned around the fucking Detroit Lions. So you got to give him time. See, the Lions, remember, after Wayne Fontes, they were firing coaches every couple of years, right? They gave Dan Campbell the ability to build a roster and the ability to build a franchise. And now Detroit is a perennial playoff contender who some people have picked to go to the Super Bowl. So I think Woody's going to try and let Aaron Glenn do that. No, Daboll needed to go, but Joe Sheen, their GM, should have been gone last year.
Oh, I completely agree. Let's circle back to Daboll here in just a second. Let me throw out a few other names here. Could they conceivably be let loose, or is it a result of the situation that they're put in here? Jonathan Gannon with the Cardinals. They're 3-8, but Kyler Murray's been out most of the year. They've been playing the Jacoby Brissett show for the last month, and there's talk that Murray could be lost for another month with his foot issue.
I think he stays because I think they're going to move on from Kyler Murray.
I starting to agree with that as well. Mike McCoy in Tennessee. They are the worst team in football right now, but they had the number 1 pick. You hope that you kind of like what you see out of Cam Ward this year, but there's nothing there.
Well, he took over for Callahan, right?
Right.
I think they're going to hire a full-time coach. I don't think he'll retain. The interim will not stay where they're at.
Pete Carroll, a one and done with the Raiders sitting at 2-7.
No, Pete Carroll's got too much cachet in a Super Bowl ring. He's going to get a second year.
A couple more here. New Orleans possibly moving on with,
Yes.
however, with their state of flux. Didn't they just hire a coach not long ago?
This year, but I think, well, yeah, they hired,
It was Kellen Moore.
it was Kellen Moore. I was gonna say they hired a guy who was in somebody's draft class that's still playing. Wait, wasn't he in the 18 draft class with Baker?
I don't think so. No, he's 37. He couldn't have been. Yeah, I want to say he was drafted in 2015.
2012.
Okay, yeah.
Great. Yeah.
He started coaching in 2018, which was Baker's draft class.
Okay. That's
Because
what I
he
knew
was
there was
the
a
quarterback. He would remember there was a lot of talk because he was the quarterback coach under Mike McCarthy, and Jerry wanted to actually see if they can maybe move up to get him in the
that's
top
right.
5.
Okay. That's right. No, I think now that I realize I forgot Kellen Moore was hired this year, I think they'll give him another year because remember, unless Kellen Moore is the one who pulled the trigger on the kid from Louisville,
Tyler Shuck, yeah.
yeah, he needs another year, if not two. Because remember, New Orleans cap situation is so god awful from the what's his name days, the one in Denver. What the fuck is his name again?
Pete Carroll.
No,
Sean Payton.
not Sean Payton. It old as shit. Won a Super Bowl once many years ago. Same guy. Excuse me. No, I think he gets a second year.
The Atlanta Falcons, I'm sorry, Raheem Morris. You know, they lose
Possibility.
they lose Mike Penix to a foot injury today. Couldn't actually, put together that final drive for a victory over Carolina today. Um, and obviously doesn't know how to use Bijan Robinson. That's like sands through the hourglass. Atlanta doesn't know how to use a stud running back, and Annie Agar is going to make a joke about it.
She's been on fire recently, hasn't she? It's possible. At very least, he's going to need to get a new offensive coordinator.
Two more here, and maybe kind of out of left field. Kevin O'Connell with the Vikings. They're sitting at 4-6, and another tough loss today.
Yes. I think Minnesota's going to go because if I'm not mistaken, he was a DC before he was the head coach. Yeah, they're going to bring an offensive coach because apparently they believe in JJ.
And then lastly, Zach Taylor with the Bengals. Now, granted,
Gotta go.
You think because Cincinnati typically does not fire coaches.
Zach Taylor needs to go, but by his own hand. What the Cincinnati Bengals have done in the front office is akin to almost felony murder. How do you go from trash, Super Bowl, trash? How? When your core on offense has not changed and you've decided that paying wide receivers and quarterbacks are more important than line and defense. Either the owner needs to be tossed into a vat of Skyline and left to rot, or they need to be sent further into Kentucky. Seriously, I know I'm making jokes about the skyline because I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy.
Because everybody
But
knows if
seriously,
you want decent fast food pasta, you go to Piata.
I'm gluten free, so I wouldn't know.
Because I do.
We should send them that tape and see if we can get a sponsorship out of it.
I ate there Friday night. That was a bit of a mistake because I got the spicy chipotle ranch on my salad.
Oh, that sounds yummy.
It was very good though. I love their salads.
Were you Johnny Cash in after that?
No, that was that was Saturday morning that I hurt myself today.
Off topic. Well, actually, on this topic, but off topic of this. Go watch the Hot Ones with Gordon Ramsay. Oh my God. It is hysterical.
You know, the next time we put somebody on here, I'm going to throw you right in the middle and I'm going to use you as an idiot sandwich.
Truer words never spoken.
Close
So
your mouth, Mike.
Well, I'm reaching out to him this week. We need to get him on here and laughing.
But
let's go back to Dayball
okay.
because his name is being tossed around Happy Valley.
The other name that I'm actually hearing tossed around, and my father let me know this, and there's getting a lot of steam, is Eli Drinkowitz at Mizzou. 'Cause they they can't beat a ranked opponent to save their life the last 2 years.
Yeah. I think one of his only ranked wins was that Cotton Bowl, wasn't it?
Right. Where, basically half of Ohio State's roster decided not to play
Yeah.
because they got left out of the playoff. Yep.
Well, yeah, because they lost to these fuckboys. Who I'm even more pissed at this week, which we'll talk about. We don't even need to bring it up, but you know why. The hell was that? Jesus Christ. Smack you. No, and speaking of the carousel, because Franklin's not in NFL. Well, yeah, I've heard Dayball's name over there. Belichick came out this week and said he is not putting his name in for any NFL vacancies. Of course, Belichick's DC career started with the Giants under Parcells
Right.
in the 80s. So, when his girlfriend was not even thought of. When her parents were children.
Mike McDaniel's got to be gone in Miami.
Mike McDaniel's got to go, and they got to stick to it in a fucking rocket with him and send him somewhere. And Tyreek, for that matter. And
there were people that were going to say, Dave Canales in Carolina, but we'll talk about this in the second half. Carolina's got themselves over 500, and they're only half game out of first place in that division. Carolina has turned themselves around. Canales has saved his job.
He has saved his job, and I'll say this. Dave Canales does not deserve to be fired. The guy in Jacksonville might.
I mean, Jacksonville's right now sitting at 6-4. They're playing a lot better. If you're a Browns fan, you're hoping he gets fired because that's where our second first-round draft pick is coming from next year. So the better that Jacksonville does, the worse it is for the Browns. You're hoping that they actually go in the toilet the final 7 games of the year. I don't think it's going to happen, but I think the Carolina job is safe.
Yeah, Canales is going to be safe. The only other one I can see changing, honestly, And this is going to be a little controversial. I think Matt LaFleur is on his way out in Green Bay.
You think?
I think Matt LaFleur, as good as he was with Aaron, has not been very good with Jordan Love. Green Bay doesn't fire coaches.
They're only a half game out of first place in that division right now. The Chicago Bears mathematically are in first place in the NFC North division right now.
That's insanity. Shout out, Alex. We were all wrong. They're not as bad as we thought they were going to be. But that's not why. It's not winning record as the issue. How much of LaFleur's success was landing in a place with a first ballot Hall of Famer?
Yeah, but I understand he may not have developed love, or he's not as all pro as we all anticipated he is, but they were in the playoffs last year. They're on their way to the playoffs again this year. They are 6-3-1 right now. They might have, I would say, I think they might even have they might be in the driver's seat in that division, even if they're only a half game behind right now with the way that their schedule lines up the rest of the year.
Yeah, but that's their schedule. I honestly believe that the people that run the Green Bay Packers, because they are publicly owned, also understand that they have to develop players. They cannot do the things that some of these other franchises do that are privately owned. They have to develop the quarterback. Jordan Love's development has not been that great. He's been good. He's been better than what I thought he was going to be, but he has not been that great. They have a front office with the guy with the fucked up name. Still has only drafted one weapon for this guy in the last however many years. And what's Matthew Golden done this year? Not much. I honestly think that if you're going to see one out of left field get fired, it's going to be Matt LaFleur. I think Gutekunst ought to go with him. Personally, that's just me. But I think Green Bay could be a place that you're going to see some names attached to. And as scary as this sounds, and as stupid as the NFL is, don't be shocked if they fire Matt LaFleur if Mike McDaniel or Kevin Stefanski's name don't come up for Green Bay.
I mean, I could see that. But let's talk about Kevin Stefanski, a two-time coach of the year. Paul DePodesta left the franchise earlier this week to take the same position that he's in with the Browns, with the Colorado Rockies, getting back into baseball. There's a lot of people thinking that, General Manager Andrew Berry could be elevated to that position. They could be looking for a new GM and possibly be able to work with Stefanski, or could they elevate Berry to president of football operations and then bring in a brand new GM and head coach? And one of the names I actually heard discussed was, would you kick the tires on Mike McCarthy?
Kick the tires, yes. But Stefanski's got to go, because here's the bottom line with Kevin Stefanski. You won a coach of the year with John Dorsey's roster. That's fact. John Dorsey put together the roster that went 11-5 and came within a bad call of going to Buffalo to play in the AFC Championship game. Plain and simple.
And then he won another coach of the year 2 years ago with 5 different quarterbacks.
That was the coach of the year that was warranted. I fully agree with that. With the injury issues the Browns had under center, starting with Billy, and then who else got hurt that year?
Who didn't get hurt?
Exactly. To get to the playoffs with that roster, with Joe Flacco off the fucking couch. Yeah, you won coach of the year the second time, you earned it. The first time is because the Browns got to the playoffs. Let's not kid ourselves.
I mean, let's also, kind of discuss the elephant in the room with Stefanski, is that he was supposed to be this great, developer of quarterbacks, and he's done nothing with any of them. to the point where
No.
the two that they drafted now are going to be on somebody's practice squad in April.
Well, let's start at the beginning and let's talk about how he was brought in to elevate Baker Mayfield and gave up on him. Flat gave up on him.
Yeah.
I know he's not your favorite. Urban Meyer had a great line. I don't know when it was. It may have been his first year at Fox, but he said, I don't want to hear you don't have your players. You're the head coach. They're your players. I hate that narrative in the NFL. You know that. I hate that shit. You took the job. You knew who the quarterback was. Make him better. Shut the fuck up. Here's the thing. This is a guy who came in, was supposed to be some kind of quarterback whisperer that was going to elevate Baker, and he did kind of. But you also talked your way into having the highest paid backup in the league in Case Keenum. Why didn't you play him and get your number one guy healthy? Oh, I know, because you're an asshole and you didn't like who the quarterback was when you took the fucking job. Don't take the fucking job. Don't take the fucking job. He should have been gone when Mike Vrabel was in the building. Sorry.
There's
Vrabel's a far
definitely
better
an
head
argument
coach.
to be made there. Yeah.
But the other thing that kills me about Stefanski, and this has killed me about Stefanski the entire time. We've learned it through Ryan Day. We've learned it through other coaches in college and the NFL. You can't be an OC and be the head coach. You have got to have your hands in everything. It is no secret that Jim Schwartz is running that defense, and Stefanski has no idea what the fuck he's doing.
I mean, is this team this bad if Jim Schwartz is the head coach?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
Do you want to know why?
Because Jim Schwartz is not going to be the one calling the plays on the offense.
You're not wrong. But do you want to know why this team is still this bad? Because their roster is trash, James. It's trash.
also because Kevin Stefanski's biggest problem outside of not being able to develop a quarterback is the fact that where's the emotion on game day, and he never holds his players accountable on game day to where he's even said in press conferences each of the last 2 weeks after losses, each of their last two games, because they were off when we were off last week, thank God, or no, they lost to the Jets when we were off last week, and then they were off the week before. Then he says we do hold guys accountable, but we keep it in the building. If your guy jumps off sides and hands the worst team in football a victory in the final 30 seconds in the final minute in the Meadowlands last week, how are you not holding that guy accountable afterwards?
He doesn't bring it to the press. And that's admirable. It is admirable.
I understand that, but that's the press conference. How is he not going over and screaming in his face immediately afterwards?
Oh, fair enough. Now, I will say this. I have a feeling, and this is just me, and this is just spitballing here, okay, that of the triumvirate that went to Houston in 2021 to make that deal, the two that were on board with it were Jimmy Haslam and Kevin Stefanski. I think the smart man in the room was Andrew Berry, who said when he wanted to guarantee the money, say no, but he did it anyway. Stefanski was one of the voices saying, give me Deshaun Watson. And it blew up in his face. But he's got to go. He's got to go. He's the longest tenured coach since 99.
Yeah, he's also
You
the only
fucking
one that's actually
serious?
gotten them to more than one playoff appearance.
Yeah, well.
He's also the only coach to actually have a on the record playoff victory since the franchise came back. And remember, he was sitting at home with COVID. Mike Prefer was the head coach that game.
That's right. That's right. Look, now, let me say this, Jim. Are we having this conversation if that call goes their way and they pull it out in Kansas City? No, we're not.
With
I've
the
told
way
this
that things
before.
have gone now, absolutely, because
First of all, if they win that game and they would have beaten Buffalo like I think they would have done. You do remember they were getting back the rest of the offensive line for the next week, and the Bills had the 5th worst run defense in the league that year. Yeah,
yeah, but
no,
they
they were
would have
going to
had
win
to
that
go
game.
on they would have had to go on the road in Buffalo when Buffalo was going to be able to start letting fans back into the building, and the Browns really did, and the Browns have historically played like trash in freezing cold weather, snow on turf.
Oh yeah, they do play better on grass than that, don't they? But I think the two-headed monster they had in the backfield that year would have made up for some of that. But here nor there. If what my prediction was happened, and you would have heard the words Super Bowl and Cleveland attached to each other and have nothing to do with the monstrosity being built in Brook Park. He could be the coach for. They could never win more than 5 games a year. No one would give a shit, and
I,
you know I'm right.
yeah, I could understand that because at that point, then they're backing up and they're paying Baker 30 million a year to stay. They're not making the trade, for Watson. Um,
And they have draft capital to actually build a roster. They don't have to trade for Jerry Jeudy, who's the worst number 1 in the fucking league. They probably draft one of the studs out of Ohio State. That play, that call, flipped this franchise on its ear. And we sit here complaining about this motherfucker.
hey, Patrick, good to hear from you, man.
Hey.
It's he just responded to my Facebook post.
Oh, nice.
So I said 2 turnovers for scores in the first half, and they're going to lose this game. I've seen enough. Sanders is skittish and afraid. He's definitely not ready. Fire Stefanski tomorrow and start turning your attention to the QB class in college, who they're going to be taking in the top 5. Mrs. Reekin says, does that mean you have a lot to talk about tonight? Patrick responds, I didn't think Shadur had some special talent or anything, but I do think never playing him with the ones is a fireable offense at this stage. Another winnable game lost. He's certainly not wrong.
He's
I'm
not.
interested to see what a full week of practice is going to do for the kid when they actually get to play a winnable game against the Raiders on in Las Vegas on Sunday.
Let me see that.
Next Sunday, but let's see. But if there's no change, I could see them not even waiting until Christmas to axe Stefanski and then letting Jim Schwartz coach out the rest of the year.
Yeah, and let's talk about the way he's handling this year's roster. Never mind what he did with Baker or what he did with Watson. This year's roster is an aberration. It's terrible, Jim. And in my opinion, Myles Garrett should have fucking ran.
And yet, here's what's funny. Garrett had 4 sacks today, and Carson Schwarzenegger is going to win Defensive Rookie of the Year. In a walk.
Agreed. Now let's talk about the offensive roster. The line is shit. The running back room is thin outside of Quinshawn, who has been, by the way, far better than I thought he would be. Because do you see what Henderson's been doing recently?
Well, Dylan Sampson's also played very well, but when they finally were able to use him as a sweep back or a pass catching back.
That's very true. Fannin has been amazing.
I mean, but arguably outside of the quarterbacks, they hit gold in this draft.
Yeah, but here's the problem with that. And again, I'm going to say this, and you're not going to like it. You don't know what they have with the quarterbacks. When you drop guys who are part or who are one of them have development things that need to happen, because we all said that, and you drop them in a roster like this, you cannot expect them to win right away. This is the problem with the NFL today. They don't know how to bring it. They don't know how to develop quarterbacks anymore. They don't know how they have less patience than my fucking 4-year-old, which is saying something.
I don't know, man. Bo Nix, like right now, is playing like a friggin' MVP.
Bo Nix is with a guy who had a Hall of Famer for almost his entire career.
Agreed, but he got probably dropped into just as bad, if not a worse situation in Denver.
No, he didn't. Denver's roster was far better than the Browns roster.
Denver, remember that year, picked 12th in the draft and had Knicks fall into their lap. The Browns were trying to bank on a roster that had all kinds of talent, and then Watson was hurt, and then the whole roster goes to hell afterwards.
But Bo Nix fell into a place with a head coach that won without anything because of the salary cap issues that New Orleans had. He fell into a coach who knew his offense would work with certain players. And instead of trying to shove players into molds they weren't in, he got rid of the guys who didn't fit, Jerry Jeudy, and he brought in the guys that would work. That's the difference. A guy with a Super Bowl ring and a run of success in New Orleans was man enough to say, listen, we've got to do this different. I can't do my way or the highway. I've got to put this thing together for this kid, or we're not going to be any goddamn good. Why do you think they traded Russell Wilson? He knew he couldn't win with Russ. So he brought in basically Drew Brees with 2 extra inches to his height. That's what Bo Nix is. At the end of the day, Jim, he's got to fucking go. They've got to clean house in the coaching staff. And Barry needs to go up and move up to the president of football operations because he can run a franchise. He can't put a roster together anymore. For all the things he found.
If you're the Browns next year, you've got a new GM, a new coach, and then your quarterback room could be Short Kings Anonymous between Dylan Gabriel, Russell Wilson, and Kyler Murray. So
Play the Mario Brothers one.
on that note,
Here's the funniest part of this. This is the dumbest of all the scandals we got going on right now. So there's only one way to talk to them about this, and that's
you have to stop the Q-tip when there's resistance.
Really?
the greatest closer in franchise history basically flushed his career and possibly his life down the toilet for 50 grand, I was hearing, in payouts,
Yeah, it was nothing.
and posted $600,000 bond, and Ramon Ortiz posted 400,000.
Yeah. The only thing I can say about this is, number one, what they did is horrific. If true, this is alleged now. They have not been found guilty. They will face their justice.
Both were
Two.
arrested and arraigned in Brooklyn, or I
Mhm.
should say in Boston, earlier this week. And I love that there were people freaking out when they actually heard, Ortiz arrested in Boston on suspicion of gambling, and everyone freaked out. But no, but they were both. Ortiz pleaded not guilty on Wednesday, and then Clase pleaded not guilty back on Friday. They posted their bond and will be due both back in court at the same time on December 2nd.
Here's the second thing about it. When you, as a professional sports league, get in bed with the fucking gamblers, this shit's gonna fucking happen. FanDuel has network rights to Major League Baseball. Did we not think this was going to be? This is the karma for Pete Rose. This is what it is. I mean,
According to the Jeff Passan story back on Friday,
Yeah.
prosecutors say, quote, prosecutors say Clase often threw rigged pitches on the first pitch of the at-bat, making sure to throw the ball in the dirt and well outside the strike zone to assure the umpire it was called a ball. During a game in April against the Boston Red Sox, Clase even spoke to one of the bettors by phone just before taking the mound, prosecutors contend. Minutes later, the bettor and his associates won an $11,000 wager that Clase would turn a certain pitch slower than 97.95 miles an hour.
Here's my question. Number one, why is Major League Baseball in bed with these fuckers to that level?
See, I think these were private gamblers as opposed to like on the sports books and everything. I think this was like, you know, when our parents growing up used to be able to hand in their betting slips to the local guy. You know, running out of like a VF hall or something. Or their
Either
guy,
way.
or their guy in the neighborhood, you know, that they used to run numbers with.
We know one of those guys. We know several of them probably, but we know one of them I know for sure. I got to read more into it because I was so disgusted by it. I'm gonna be honest with you. I was so disgusted by it. And the fact that ESPN took the ESPN bet thing off the fucking bottom line in the middle of Get Up when this broke. That was hilarious. That was fucking great. Hey, speaking of ESPN, did you see Aaron Donald tackle Pat McAfee yesterday?
Pat McAfee can suck my ass.
Yes, he can, but that was funny.
No, it wasn't just because of the trash that he had on his show this week.
Oh, I heard, and I'll
So
never watch it again.
I will never willingly give him time on this air to be discussed going forward now.
Don't blame you. I know you're an Aaron Donald fan, and he tossed McAfee off the stage. That's why I wanted to bring that up.
Should have actually put him through a friggin' table or something like blood and guts on Wednesday night.
They weren't in Buffalo, or else it would have been perfect.
Darby Allin got tossed off the top of the entranceway through two flaming tables.
So Darby Allin wants to be Mick Foley.
Arguably, yes, but it was great because the men's match ended with Kyle O'Reilly choking out John Moxley with a crippler crossface, while Moxley, when he finally hit his hand on the mat to tap out, was in the middle of broken glass.
ECW.
The women's match was insane.
We'll talk about that in the second half.
Yeah.
Now, Jim, let me ask you this question. Where do the guards pivot? Do they I mean, first of all, this is a franchise that pulls pitching out of their ass every chance they get. Do they have someone who can close? And is this really that big of a miss?
I mean, anytime you lose the best closer in baseball by a country mile, it's gonna hurt them with what Clase was doing. But remember, Clase had actually been suspended indefinitely by baseball in mid-July, so they were running out. And it's just how good their bullpen was with with Cade Smith and Hunter Gaddis until Hunter Gaddis decided to become Hunter Gaddis, Eric Sabrowski, Jacob Junis, Timmy Herron. They had arguably one of the best bullpens down the stretch in all of baseball. So Cade Smith stepped into that closer role, and Clase had 24 saves in 48 games last year until his suspension, or at least in terms of 48 appearances. And then Cade Smith in 76 appearances had 16 saves and 19 holds. So all they did was they took him from their primary hold guy and elevated him up to the closer. And I'm actually saying because that's 16 saves and and he still ends up with 28 more appearances, but it's also because he was already in that setup man and hold role while Clase was the closer. And then Clase, gets dumped off. They elevate Kate Smith, and he turns into arguably, one of the most dominant closers in baseball the last 2 months.
I mean, he kind of had to be with what they pulled off. Yeah, and Ortiz, was he that big of an impact arm to them?
I mean, he started 16 games last year. He was 5-4. I'm sorry, yeah, he was 4-9 with a 4.36 ERA. So I mean, he was really going to be like a fourth or fifth starter, but then that's where, you're right, how they pull these starters out of nowhere. Between Tanner Bybee, Gavin Williams, Logan Allen, Slade Ciccone, Joey Cantillo. You get, and then how impressive they were when Parker Messick came up, who's arguably going to be your fifth starter next year, or even your fourth
Yeah.
starter.
Yeah, so Cleveland's going to be fine as far as pitching goes. I mean, they always are. And did I hear right? Vogt won it again?
Yeah, Stephen Vogt did win Manager of the Year.
Well, he's already better off than the guy who's got two of those in the other part of town. But more of this as it becomes obviously available to us. We're going to go in depth with it once we get the full detail on it. I mean, not for nothing, but the outlet that Passan works for is such a fucking joke anyway. Forget it. I can't believe 95% of what comes out of that joint anymore after some of the shit I've heard this last week.
Yeah, but typically when Passan says it, it's borderline gospel.
I will say that Passan is one of the few, the proud and the brave at that joint that actually is a fucking journalist now.
And what's funny is I'm not trying to gloss here on my sport, but you had the Calvin Ridley thing in football a couple of years ago. You had the basketball saga just 2 weeks ago when we were here. Now you've got this. You notice hockey hasn't had anything like this because arguably baseball might be the easiest one to fix for how pitches are tipped or where you might throw a pitch or something like that. Football arguably is second. Basketball, you still got to put the ball in the hoop. So it's a little bit harder to fix, but the overall outcomes of games you can understand. If you're talking things like free throws, I would say hockey's got to be arguably the hardest one to fix.
I agree, because hockey's one of those you can't play to not do something. You have to play to actually not to take Herm Edwards' thing, but you got to play to win the game,
right?
Or somebody's really going to get hurt. I think it would be the easiest, the hardest one to fix. But Jim, what do you say we get out of here for halftime? An hour and 3, dude. We're doing good tonight. We're cooking.
So we will see you guys here in 5 minutes or less, and we will rip through the blast and get out of here, and we'll set up for a very big week next week and a couple of announcements we got towards the end of the show too.
Sounds like a plan. See you in a few. We're back.
That's my back. We're front.
The fuck? Dude, seriously. Um, real quick, just as we always come, score update, anything going on right now, and it is 16 left in the second quarter, 3-0 Philly in a low scoring, excuse me, low scoring game in Philadelphia between them and the Lions. But Jim, before we get into the blast, I do have this week's Big Rican number of the week. And that number is 225 and 1. Do you want to know what that number represents, James?
The number of times that Keith or Dan actually said it on SportsCenter about somebody's age, and the one would be the number of times we did not laugh.
No, but laughter is a part of this. 225 and 1 is the record of NFL teams who have held their opponents to under 200 yards of total offense. Of the 226 times that happened, the one time that the team lost was last week's Cleveland Browns against the New York Jets. Just throwing that out there.
And we'll talk more about futility when we do the NFL roundtable here
Yes,
in the
we
wrap up
shall.
here in a minute.
Yes, we shall. I meant to do that last segment, but I had to save it for now. And thank you for the Cleveland-centric soundtrack as well. I appreciate it.
Hey, in case you haven't noticed, and judging by the attendance, you haven't.
Real quick, did you notice how that team in that situation that he's talking about was losing and started winning and couldn't get anybody to go to the damn ballpark? But the team that we constantly beat the shit out of is losing and can't start winning, and everybody fucking goes.
I mean, I just watched a video while we were in halftime from Annie Yeager talking about, the Packers winning today, and she was fretting against the Giants and said, it was like she slipped in an ad for a sports book or something. And she's like, remember, it's legal in all 50 states, including the state of depression.
She's been on fire the last few weeks. But what do we got in the blast there, boss?
Arthur, what do you know about Bijan? I love it on sandwiches.
Oh, the CFP rankings. Oh boy. Oh, can we start with Nico, please?
We shall.
Okay, this motherfucker. I mean, seriously, how did you keep your job this fucking long after you did what you did, bro?
I mean, and
How?
he'll get another job somewhere else.
He will, but did you see what has happened in Dallas ever since?
They've been playing a lot better.
That wasn't the owner that fired him. It was the minority owner who fired him.
And when I say they've
Yes,
been playing a
ladies.
lot better, they only lost 3 in a row as opposed to, I want to say they went out and they won the night he got canned.
But ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't paid attention, the minority owner of the Dallas Mavericks is back in the mix in basketball operations. Yes, that's right. Mark Cuban is back in the mix in running basketball operations for the Dallas Mavericks. He is going to hurt people for trading his boy. I mean, he's ready to. He's not on this season of Shark Tank because he's so fucking pissed. Cuban's going to go Bay of Pigs on these fuckers. Get it?
I mean, they have the number 1 pick in the draft who's played well when he's actually been healthy enough. And yet they trade away a top 5 player in the NBA who's arguably playing, who could win the MVP this year in a walk with how great he's played for LA so far, and also gotten his body back into that kind of shape that Dallas was hoping he had. And then Clay and Kyrie are getting really, really old. And the fact that they're sitting at 3-10 and New Orleans fired their coach yesterday, could we see the fire sale coming as well? Because Anthony Davis is going to be out 7 to 10 more days with a calf strain.
No, I don't think Jay Kidd gets fired for this. I don't know how you could fire him for this. Because again, this is the whole thing we're talking about with the Browns. GMs put rosters together, coaches coach. You can't coach a team to win when they're dog shit. You can't. Let's get to Brian Kelly before I want to throw up seeing his name again. He's really complaining about them paying him that much money.
They're, according to the part of the story that I read, that they're looking to fire him with cause so they don't have to pay him all of that.
Well, of course they're going to fire him for cause. His dog shit. He's a terrible coach. He did nothing he said he was going to do when he got there. He's cringe in some of the videos. And not only that, do you know how bad LSU looks for bringing him from Notre Dame and what Marcus Freeman has done since he took over?
Right.
Was Brian Kelly the coach when they got blown out by Alabama in the BCS championship game?
Was it Les Miles?
Les Miles was at LSU. I'm talking when
At Notre Dame. He might have been because Marcus Freeman hadn't gotten there yet.
Yeah, he took over in 2009. So Brian Kelly was the head coach when they got to that BCS championship game against Alabama. Either team they would have played that year, whether it was them or the Buckeyes of Urban Meyer's first season, would have blown that team out. But
go ahead.
All those years, Brian Kelly got to 2 playoffs and 1 national championship game and got the doors blown off him. Marcus Freeman's been there 3 years. And he literally was on the precipice of a national championship in his 3rd season.
And he's got them back in great position to get
they're
into
in
the
mix
playoff now. And then you figure if they finish strong and somebody else slips, he's got them possibly knocking on the door of not only hosting a home game, but maybe getting a bye, even with 2 losses.
I don't think they'll put a team with 2 losses in there. I think you're going to see whoever. I think the 4 teams that are going to end up with the byes are the winner of and whoever loses the Big Ten championship game. They're both going to get byes. They'll go from 1-2 to 1-4 or 1-3. The SEC champion will get a bye. And believe it or not, if we're looking at it this way, you could get another team from the SEC that gets the bye.
I could almost make an argument that if they run out, Texas Tech out of the Big 12 deserves it.
They would be the one. Now that you mention it, yeah, Texas Tech would be the one. But yeah, LSU's got plenty of cause to fire his ass. Coach O won the national championship and they ran him out of town on a fucking rail.
So according to the Dan Wetzel story earlier this week, in a quote, in a legal filing against LSU's Board of Supervisors, Brian Kelly's attorneys say LSU has taken the position that is not, quote, formally terminated, end quote, Kelly as Tigers football coach. The school, according to the petition for declaratory judgment, is now seeking to fire Kelly for cause and potentially avoid paying a full buyout of nearly $54 million. The filing claims that LSU informed Kelly's representatives of this position on Monday.
How many weeks after he was fired, they told him, oh, by the way, we're going to fire him for cause?
Right. He was relieved on October 26th, and the date on this Dan Wetzel story was November 10th. So back on last Monday.
It's because they're running out of money. Because they're still paying Coach O. But again, a Coach O won a championship. So, speaking of college football, the CFP rankings, we are in our going into our 3rd rankings coming up. Jim and I always go off the AP poll, which come out today, Tuesday night, will be the 3rd playoff ranking. I don't see anything changing in the top 4. I see something changing in the top 4 because Bama lost to Oklahoma. Big shout out to Brent Venables. That's 2 years in a row that he's beaten Bama. But trivia question, last team to beat them 2 years in a row was who, Jim?
To beat Alabama 2 years in a row?
Yeah.
Wasn't it Kirby Smart in Georgia?
No, Kirby has only beaten Bama once. It was Ole Miss in 2014 and 2015.
And Ole Miss
that
sitting
was
there at 5th right now.
that was the only blemish on their record going into the inaugural playoff, and it was the only blemish on their record when they won their first playoff championship in 2015. But yeah, they're sitting there. The rest of the top four didn't, top three didn't change. Ohio State 1, Indiana 2, Texas A&M, who somehow survived. I don't know how the fuck they won that game. South Carolina ought to be ashamed of themselves. And if that quarterback,
It was the Marcel Reed show in the second half. 22 of 39, 439 yards, 3 touchdowns, and most of that in the second half.
yeah, Marcel Reed just won the Heisman Trophy. A 3 touchdown
Freddie
comeback.
Mendoza is still, I think, the favorite.
Yeah, you know what they both have in common? Having to come back in the fourth quarter against teams they should have never been trailing to. Moving down just a little bit more, Oklahoma, of course, I think now in the top 10, Notre Dame stays at 9. Bama at 10, I don't have a problem with. Miami at 14, I have a real problem with. They've not played well at all. Georgia Tech still owns their way into the ACC championship game after a late
But
second.
look at that entire outside the top 20. James Madison, North Texas, Tulane, Houston. Those are all group of 5 teams, and there's 4 of them in there right now.
And there should be a fifth after what Navy did to South Florida on Saturday.
Right. But I think arguably with Navy, how they lost their quarterback in the third quarter in that game, I think that's what's hurting them. I think they're actually getting the Florida State treatment now that they get left out of the top 25 and into this conversation because they're uncertain as to what's going to happen under center for them the rest of the year.
Very true. 10-second hypothetical. Does Arch leave Texas after this year because of how bad they are?
No, I think he comes back for a senior season because this did not go the way that he wanted. And also, there's nowhere else that he's going to transfer that he's going to be able to get that kind of run. He's Texas bred, unless he actually goes to Tennessee. That's the only other place I could see it.
Everybody else went to Ole Miss. Peyton's the only one who Peyton and Arch are the only ones who didn't go to Ole Miss.
I think honestly, if he transfers, he's got to get out of the SEC.
I think if he transfers, he goes to Lane Kiffin. That's not a bad move. USC I want to give USC some flowers for their win against Iowa. Look, they've lost some games, but Iowa is still one of the top defenses in college football. They have played very, very well on the defensive side of the ball. That was a great game in California on Saturday. Because, I mean, I caught highlights of it. They played phenomenally. Indiana ho-hum wins their game big. A&M had their problems. Georgia, we're probably looking at A&M and Georgia in the SEC championship game.
Yeah, I want to say with one more win, I think A&M would clinch their ticket to Atlanta already. Because mathematically, they would be they'd kind of be, to use the golf term, they'd be sitting dormy.
Yeah, and I think next week if Indiana wins, they're in.
Yeah, it's Texas A&M finishes home to Stanford because they scheduled halfway decent out of conference early in the year, and then they finish at Texas the last 2.
Well, I mean, Texas could play spoiler because they're not getting to the playoff and they're not getting to the SEC championship game. This is going to be a Gator Bowl shot for them, PC.com, something like that. So the top 12 get in, 11 of them being the Power 4 teams. The top group of 5 team is probably going to be either James Madison or North Texas. I think James Madison should get it.
I personally think North Texas, from what I've seen out of them this year.
Are they in the same conference?
Yes, the AAC.
Okay.
Yep.
Jim, does Navy have a shot at the AAC championship game?
I mean, there's an argument because as I'm looking things over, Indiana's only got one game left. They're off next week.
Yeah,
So
they're
they
off
finish
next
up.
week, and
So they get the Old Oak and Bucket in 2 weeks against Purdue.
they're going to smoke Purdue. Is that in?
I think
Is
it's
that at
in
Indiana?
Bloomington.
It's in Bloomington. Okay.
So Navy is right now leading the American to at 6-1. Tulane and North Texas are both 5-1. East Carolina is also sitting at 5-1, but East Carolina's got a 9-3 overall record. Where I think it's North Texas because they're 9-1 overall, where Tulane and Navy are 8-2.
Yeah, but one of Navy's losses is Notre Dame.
Agreed, and North Texas is, 0-1 against the team in the AP, but they're also 1-0 in the against the team in a coaches poll. So Tulane's the only other team in that group that's got to win against a ranked opponent in the coaches poll, which they typically give a little bit more credence to than the AP poll.
That's very true. So what are we looking at right now? We're looking at Buckeyes are in, Indiana's in, Bama's in, not Bama, A&M's in, Georgia's in. What do you think? We got Notre Dame's going to get a spot. And this is if all these teams win out. Obviously, 1 and 2 are going to play in the Big Ten championship game. 3 and 4 are going to play in Atlanta. Kiffin will get in. Lanning will get in. Texas Tech will get in and may get the 4 seed depending on who wins the SEC. Jim, if Oklahoma wins out, do they get in?
I think arguably without a doubt right now. I mean, they're sitting at 8 and they've still got a chance to sneak their way up into some things. When you look at the SEC right now, they're sitting right now 4-2 in the conference. So I don't think mathematically they can get there. But I mean, it's hard to make an argument because Texas A&M is undefeated in the conference. Naturally, they're undefeated in the country. But I mean, when you look at the conference, you've got A&M sitting at 3, Georgia's at 5, Ole Miss is at 7, Alabama's at 4, Texas is at 10, Oklahoma's at 11, Vanderbilt's at 14. Somebody in that group's going to get at least 2 of those teams are going to get left out. And I think right now it's going to be Texas and Vanderbilt. So I mean, I could see A&M, Georgia, Ole Miss, and Oklahoma getting in.
Me too. All right. So here's the next part of this. With the Big Ten having the top 2 overall seeds, the top 2 overall ranked teams right now, if you had to pick out of these teams, and one of them is going to be eliminated as of Saturday because USC plays Oregon. USC, Oregon, Michigan, or Iowa, who's got the best shot at getting in?
Oregon.
You think they beat USC?
No question. Because that game's in Eugene, and then they go to Washington, which they should roll over Washington right now.
You know what? Yeah, but Washington at home is a different animal.
I
understand.
I understand that, but this is Dan Lanning getting his team psyched up for the end of the year. This is not going to be the nosedive, that they've had in the last couple of years when they were in the Pac-12. This is a different Oregon squad. He's out for blood after last year.
He got exposed a little against Indiana. And I think Indiana got exposed a little against Penn State.
Plus, also the resume looks a little bit better because if they go into Washington and they win, it's a hell of a lot better than USC, having to go to Eugene and then, in the crosstown showdown, beat up on a UCLA team that is getting sued by the city of Los Angeles.
Pasadena. But yeah, why would you not want to play at the Rose Bowl? The fuck? I don't know. Yeah, and most of the Saturday games that were supposed to be blowouts were. And even the ones that weren't supposed to be, some of them were just ugly. Like that Georgia-Texas game was ugly. Kirby's got them peaking at the right time too. I think this playoff could be very interesting, depending on how the seeds play out. And obviously, we'll have more this week or this next Sunday on the next one that goes in. And, you know, we're 2 weeks from rivalry week. We are 3 weeks from conference championship games, which means as of today, 3 weeks from tonight, the field will be revealed. And we will be on that night after that, because that's during the day. That's like noon. So we'll be on that Sunday night after that. Jim, what do you say we get to week 10 a little bit and then slam the door? Anyone stick out at you? Because I don't want to go through the whole thing. I know we talked about it as the Cats decide to fight. Sorry. You know what the problem is? You've met Oliver and Luna.
Mm-hmm.
Oliver's a little bitch. Like, he'll look at Tank and he'll just meow for no reason. Like, Tank is just standing there. He's a kitten. He wants to play. Luna, Ollie, he's like a little girl. It's terrible. Like,
So
you got
we'll run through these here very, very quickly. Back on Thursday, the Patriots moved to 9-2 with a 27-14 win over the Jets. Drake May, 25 of 34, 281 yards and a touchdown. The Patriots are now 2 games clear in the AFC East. Final in the wee hours of earlier today in Madrid, Miami wins 16-13 over Washington. Miami's basically won back-to-back games. Washington, who knows what's going on with them?
Well, Jaden Daniels being hurt doesn't help.
Right.
Mariota today.
Arguably the best game of the day, and I watched a good portion of this. Carolina goes into Atlanta and then wins 30-27. Bryce Young, 31 of 45, 448 yards, 3 touchdowns, and hit Teotrin McMillan, 8 catches, 130 yards, 2 touchdowns, and the tying score with under a minute to go. Bryce Young definitely stepped up. The Panthers are 6-5 and a half game out in the NFC South.
Good Lord. When do they play Tampa again? It's a couple weeks, right?
Yeah, I want to, because they still have the rest of their schedule is they will be at San Francisco, home to the Rams. So they still have both games against the Buccaneers this left.
Come on, Baker.
Houston goes into Tennessee, comes away with a 16-13 win. Davis Mills still playing for the injured CJ Stroud, 26 of 41, 274 yards and a touchdown. The Texans, after that abysmal start to the year, are back to 500 at 5-5.
They may squeak in, but that's going to be Indy's division to lose.
It was the ugliest game of the day for some reasons, but it arguably turned into the most entertaining game of the day. The Chicago Bears are 7-3 and leading the NFC North with a 19-17 win over the Minnesota Vikings. After J.J. McCarthy hits Jordan Addison with under a minute to go to give the Vikings the lead, Chicago runs the ensuing kickoff back over 50 yards and then sets up a walk-off field goal. Caleb Williams, 16 of 32, 193 yards. It is Chicago's 4th come-from-behind victory this season.
They're playing with house money. We did not expect this year. Their weapons have matured a little bit, and they actually seem to know what they're doing with the quarterback all of a sudden.
The Packers go into the Meadowlands and come away with a 27-20 win. The Packers moved to 6-3-1. They are only a half game back of the Bears. They dropped the Giants to 2-9.
Did Jameis start?
Yes, he was 19 of 29, 201 yards and a touchdown.
Good for Jameis. Good for Jameis.
Storyline of the day came out of Pittsburgh. The Steelers win over Cincinnati 34-12. Joe Flacco, 23 of 40, 199 yards, but there is great concern if you're a Pittsburgh fan that Aaron Rodgers may have broken his hand.
Yeah, it's the non-throwing hand. He did not come back today. I kind of got excited. I thought Will Howard would play. I forgot that Mason Rudolph is still there. Rudolph played good though, and that's how they got that W. I will say this: if I'm Mike Tomlin, I know what I have in Mason Rudolph. If you're playing a team you're going to beat the piss out of anyway, let Howard get some snaps.
The Jaguars moved to 6-4 in stunning fashion. Trevor Lawrence, 14 of 22, 153 yards and a touchdown as they roll the LA Chargers 35-6. This was a 14-6 game at the half, and the Jags just blow it open in the second half.
Is it just me or Justin Herbert find a way to play just as bad in some games as he plays just as good in others?
I completely agree. I mean, this moves Jacksonville to 6-4, and I want to say this is it kind of. I think it moves them into a wild card spot, but they're still 2 games back of the Colts.
Oh, the Colts are they're going to run away with this thing and hide.
The 49ers moved to 7-4 with a 41-22 win over the Arizona Cardinals. Jacoby Brissett still in relief of the injured Kyler Murray, 47 of 57 for 452 yards, 2 touchdowns, and yet the Cardinals still lose by 19 points in this game.
Well, you got to throw the ball every down because you're getting the piss beat out of you. You'll put up some numbers.
Easily. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I hate this for Marvin Harrison. I hate it for him.
Easily the best game of the day was arguably the one that had the most riding on it. The Denver Broncos are 9-2. The Kansas City Chiefs this late in the year have been dropped to 500. The Broncos get a walk-off field goal for a 22-19 win over the Chiefs. Bo Nix, 24 of 37, 295 yards. In the win, in the loss, Travis Kelce, 9 catches, 91 yards, and a touchdown, and breaks the Chiefs' all-time touchdown receiving record.
Congratulations to Travis Kelce on that milestone. But I will say this. Is it just me or do the Kansas City Chiefs look tired?
Yeah. Or is it also the fact of, and I'm not going to try and self-gloss here, but I actually said, didn't I say with the draft show last year that Bo Nix had the capability of being the best one out of that class, and he has far and away exceeded my expectations right now.
I didn't disagree with you. I didn't see it right away because I thought Bo Nix needed to develop a little bit. Well, guess what? He has developed.
In a potential Super Bowl matchup, at least for a couple of weeks ago, a back and forth game between the Bills and the Buccaneers. The Bills finally pull away late, outscoring Tampa Bay 23 to 12 in the second half. Come away with a 44-32 win. Josh Allen, 19 of 30, 317 yards, 3 touchdowns. Also ran for 1. The Bills are 7-3. The Bucs are 6-4, and the Bucs are reeling a little bit.
Well, I mean, Mike Evans is basically done for the year. Godwin's done nothing. Ibuka's still hurt. If you didn't expect this, when the injuries started coming for Tampa hot and heavy, you're crazy. They get healthy, they'll be better.
For not only first place in the NFC West, but the number 1 seed as it stands right now in the NFC, the Rams come away with a 21-19 win over the Seahawks in LA, despite Sam Darnold throwing 4 picks in this game, 29 of 44, 279 yards. And Mike, I actually showed you right before we also capped by arguably one of the best looking punts you will ever see.
We've talked about coffin corner before where you get it inside the 5. This was inside the 1. This was maybe the best punt I've ever seen as well. Shout out to LA for the uniforms and the logo on the field. That I love the dark blue.
Yeah, I'm really starting to come around on that. And then let's finish with the elephant in the room. The Baltimore Ravens are back to 500, and are very, very, very much alive in the AFC North with a 23-16 win over the hapless Cleveland Browns. Lamar Jackson, 14 of 25, 193 yards, 2 interceptions, and the Browns waste another one, getting 4 sacks from Myles Garrett for the second time this year. Jackson, one of his interceptions was a pick six. The Browns had scored 10 points in the matter of 61 seconds and still lost this game. In the loss, Dylan Gabriel leaves leaves at halftime with a potential concussion. Shadur Sanders comes in and essentially shits the bed.
No, it was terrible. It was terrible. But again, when you don't get reps with the ones because your coach is inept and you get tossed in against a team that has multiple all pros on the defense, shit happens. I saw one of the picks, Jim, during halftime, just flipping through videos. Yeah, that was because he had pressure in his face. Listen, I'm not giving excuses, but they're hamstringing this kid off the top and giving a lot of people a lot of ammunition to say things like you just did. So let's see what a week with the ones does in a game against the Raiders next week.
I put it out on Facebook while we were discussing it in the first half of the show. If he gets a full week of practice with the ones and comes out and still looks this bad, I have no problem running Bailey Zappi the rest of the year.
See, I think
they're not going to, but I have no problem with it because at this particular point, if you're looking, they are second last in the conference, and their draft position right now, the Browns are picking 4th. Well, if you look at it, Tennessee's not going quarterback. The Giants are not going quarterback. New Orleans might. So the Browns are going to be picking 4th right now, and they're definitely going to go quarterback there. Arguably, if New Orleans starts to actually get some improvement with Tyler Shuck, they may not want to go quarterback. So the Browns could have their pick of the litter at 4.
They could, and they probably will. That is unless they trade the pick for somebody fucking stupid. Jim, the main issue I have with the dissection of what Shedeur did today is what happened on the field did not look good at all. The back end context is not going to be taken into account. It's not. And I can't, because you know what's going to happen tomorrow morning on Cleveland Sports Radio. You know what's going to happen. The sycophants who didn't want him are going to be on their high horse, and the people who wanted him are going to be fighting with him.
Sanders started 2 of 2 and then proceeded to go 2 of 14 for 25 yards and a pick the rest of the way and was sacked twice.
Yeah.
In a game they were leading.
Yeah. But how many backups get time with the ones to make sure, God forbid, something happens, that they have rhythm? Probably the other 31.
And at halftime, it has actually just gone to the half. Philadelphia leads Detroit 13-6 in possibly another NFC Championship matchup between these two teams.
Yeah, it depends where that one is. If it's in Detroit, then I think Detroit wins. If it's in Philly, obviously I think Philly's going to win. This is a NFC Championship I'm talking, not tonight. I know tonight's in Philly.
So if the playoffs were to start today, as I want to say, some of the final bye weeks are coming up next week. We had Indianapolis and New Orleans on byes this week. But if you start the playoffs right now, the Broncos have the 1 and the bye. The Patriots have the 2. The Colts have the 3. The Steelers are the 4. Buffalo is the 5. Chargers are the 6. Jags are the 7, which means Jacksonville would go to New England, Indianapolis would host the Chargers, and Pittsburgh would host Buffalo. Kind of a flip-flop of last year where Buffalo hosted Pittsburgh in the wild card round. Still doesn't mean the Steelers are going to win a playoff game.
Indianapolis is the 1.
Indianapolis is the 3 right now.
Who's the 1 in the AFC?
Denver. Denver is 9-2, and they own the tiebreaker over New England.
Okay, so Denver gets the bye. And for the first time in how long, Kansas City won't be involved?
Correct. Kansas City right now is the 9, so they are now sitting behind Houston. Houston has the tiebreaker over them, and they will also win the tiebreaker over Baltimore, based off of a head-to-head sweep this year.
Hey,
And in the NFC, the Rams would get the bye as the 1, Philly would be the 2, Chicago the 3, Tampa the 4, Seattle the 5, the Lions 6, Green Bay 7. The 49ers are sitting a half game out right now. So you would have Philly hosting Green Bay, Chicago would host Detroit, and then Tampa would host Seattle. Those are 3 great games.
yeah, those are 3 really good games. Absolutely. So yeah, but there's still a lot of ball to be played, though, Jim.
I mean, San Francisco sitting that far back, and Carolina right now is sitting at the 9 in the NFC, and they're 6-5, so they're only a game and a half behind Green Bay as it stands right now, and I think their schedule is going to line up pretty well because, again, they also still have the 2 games against Tampa Bay.
I think Tampa wins them both, but that's just me. But yeah, lots coming down the wire. Both football, college and pros. There's so much coming down the wire. We got so many big games in the next 2 weeks, and rivalry weekend is going to be an absolute fucking insane asylum. But only one thing left to do, sir.
Would you shut up and just push the button already?
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
It's the YZ Translator on the Wise Guys Sports Show.
I'm forever unclean.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for the YZ Translator. It is the best segment of the night because it is the last segment of the night. As it is the moment when James and I give each other names in or out of the sports world, and the first thing that pops into our head is what we give to you. But the best part of the best part is, of course, the YZ Chronicle. That moment when James digs into his bag of tricks and makes me laugh so hard we actually can cut just the laughter as another entire segment. So, James, if you would please, sir.
Black Friday isn't until next week, but if you need any ideas for your men out there,
My wife would want that. I love it.
Did you watch what I sent you earlier from Saturday Night Live?
Let me just say this. If that's what they did this week, the Christmas episode's going to be off the fucking chain.
I mean, the fact that they didn't have any guests and they just went straight through, and even Che after the HBCU joke saying, this might be my favorite episode. It's like everyone's saying, yeah, you're right. This might be the best one they've ever done between the two of them.
It was. I agree with you. This was very well done. Because the minute you sent it, I was like, oh, because Bobby and I were just down here kind of bopping around. And I watched it and I'm laughing. Bobby goes, what's so funny? You're too young, kid. You're too young. So, James, your first name in tonight's YZ Translator. And I'm going to go here. And I think it's one that you and I never thought we'd have to say this late in the season. But out of the playoffs, Kansas City Chiefs head coach Andy Reid.
I think he is completely off the hook for this right now because, as you said earlier, they just look tired. They've had this type of run for 4 straight years, and eventually somebody was going to get them. We knew Denver was going to be on the come up, and Denver and the Chargers were going to be, 2 of the teams to overtake and kind of lead this division going forward. I mean, the Chargers are sitting in a wild card, and as I just said, the Denver Broncos right now, if we were to like Tecmo Bowl this thing through, the Broncos and the Rams would actually meet in the Super Bowl, which means I would never be able to watch it because those are like the Rams are one of my teams. And you remember, I was a big Broncos fan, for a while when and Denver's biggest thing right now is they need to go back to those. We talked about it last week. Those orange crush jerseys with the D, Bronco logo need to come back full time. Even if you actually put the new colors, the current colors with the old logo, it needs to come back to there. But you could just tell that with the throws that Knicks made in this game today, this was not going to be a scenario like Josh Allen leaving Kansas City, a minute on the clock or 30 seconds and being able to do something. Knicks is able to make a lot of these throws right now, and he looks primed. I'm not saying he's going to reach Mahomes type level, in this short of a time span. Because he's still got to go through Justin Herbert, who's still a damn good quarterback as well. But I don't think any of this is really on Andy Reid. I think he's just got he's got a roster that's aging very quickly. And let's be honest, it's not because of the fact that they are old. It's because of how much extra football they have to play in the playoffs each of the last 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, you figured that they're 3 Super Bowl rings. They've lost 2, 3. They've lost 3. No.
They've got 3. They've lost 2 in the last, I want to say, 6 years.
Yeah, so you're talking, and even in the years they didn't, it was the AFC Championship game they lost.
Right.
You figure the first year with Mahomes, they lost to Brady in the championship game. Then they went and won the Super Bowl. They lost in the championship game to Burrow. Then they won 2 in a row, went to the third.
And got beat by Philadelphia, yeah.
Got beat by Philly. So, yeah, I mean, that's a lot of football. And then you open the year in Brazil and you have injuries and everything else. No, I agree. I think this is that.
Right. And then the annual matchup, the smash mouth matchup against Buffalo that they put on their schedule every year.
Exactly.
I mean, is it a different story when they head to Arrowhead here in a few weeks? Because today's game was at Mile High. Let's see.
Probably. What do you got for me?
Mike, your first name in the Wisey translator tonight. Let's go back to Pittsburgh for a minute. He had himself an interesting day getting tossed as you'd figure everything on paper went wrong for the Steelers, but everything on the score sheet went right. Cornerback Jalen Ramsey.
Why you gotta throw punches, bro? Why you gotta throw punches?
Although it was later found out that he actually said that Jamar Chase spit on him, and there is video evidence that yes, Jamar Chase spit on him, and it was Ramsey retaliating. But I will never understand why a football player is going to take a swing at another guy wearing a helmet.
Do you think he would have caused Mason Rudolph more PTSD if he would have taken his helmet off, just beat Chase about the head with it?
I think it actually would, with some of the decisions he's made in the last 2 years, I think it might have made Jamar Chase smarter.
Point taken. James, your second number, Tank, get down. Your second and final name in tonight's Wisely Translator. We're going to college football now. Oklahoma head coach. And I just forgot his name. Fuck. Brent Venables. Sorry.
Yeah, it's good that you caught it in time. I'm not going to have to edit that clip that much when I get this later on this week. But there was a time where we thought that Oklahoma would, with all the rearrangement in college football, was going to be one of those teams, one of those major programs that was going to get left behind. They just needed an adjustment period. Texas had theirs last year. It now looks like Oklahoma's turn in the sun because Dan Lanning's got everything figured out with the transition, with Oregon. Venables, we always knew had the potential. He was always the guy that kept getting overlooked for a job, and then he finally latches on to this program, and he's basically got them right now. They're not in the catbird seat, but in terms of getting to Atlanta, but he's got them really, really damn close. And let's be honest, if it wasn't just such the infatuation with what's going on down in Austin, they're in a much better spot going forward than their rivals in Austin.
Yeah, I mean, let's see how they recruit the quarterback position in the next couple of years. Because I think Mateer's an upperclassman. But listen, I thought he'd be fired. I thought he'd be gone, and then now they've beaten Bama 2 years in a row. So, hats off to you, Brent Venables, and the job you have done at Oklahoma.
And the way that they rolled Texas this year too.
They lost to Texas. They lost Red
That's
River.
right. That's the only blemish on their schedule.
That was the Mateer. That was the injury that Mateer had with the hand. He shouldn't have played. But yeah, no, he's had a great year. I gotta agree with you.
Because college football, I think, is better when Oklahoma's good like this.
It's better when some of the blue bloods who haven't been good for a while get good. I agree with you 100%.
Which is why, as much as we can't stand them, sometimes we actually, how entertaining it's been the last couple of years with Miami getting back there, with Notre Dame possibly, Notre Dame's going to end up hosting a first round game after starting the year 0-2.
Yeah. Yeah, no. When the teams that have the giant fan bases are good, that's when college football is fun. For as much as there's bias towards one conference, and we all know there is, it doesn't take a fucking rocket scientist. Last year's championship game was the highest rated championship game because it was Ohio State, Notre Dame. The fan bases are massive. So when the massive fan base teams are good, let's get Penn State back in it because that's a big fan base too. When these idiots are good, my boys, your Miami boys, when Florida's good, it's better. So hopefully they can get some of this stuff turned around.
Michael,
who you got from you? Close it out, sir.
Your final name in the YZ translator. I talked about him on the phone in our production meeting on Thursday, and the story got even more weird for how long he's going to be out. We're going to head to the ice, and it's going to be New Jersey Devils star forward Quinn Hughes.
I've heard a sibling rivalry, but for your brother to take you out in the NHL for 2 fucking months, that beats all. This is how big it is. So I told you, my wife, the writer, her and her friend have gotten into, her friend's into hockey. She's a Devils fan. You can imagine, I have TikToks from my spouse who hates sports about this injury. She goes, hey, you and Jim going to talk about this? I'm like, oh, yeah. This is getting brought up at some point in time. Didn't realize it would be the translator. So the only thing I can think of is the only other time I've heard of a sibling stabbing another sibling for something like this was my mother stabbed my uncle over a waffle. The fork sticking out of his arm.
I don't think like Jack stabbed Quinn, but it's like he cut himself on a steak knife at a team dinner. And now they actually said that it was so bad that he's going to miss the next 2 months because he had surgery today.
He tore a tendon. What if they were playing that game and his brother egged him on? That'd be fucking hilarious. That'd be hilarious. And if I'm the team president of the Devils, I'm smacking that motherfucker upside his head.
Yeah, it's...
I'm just banging our heads together. You two morons. So Jim, we have some announcements to make coming up. Next week's a normal week. We will see you next Sunday, either 8 or 8:30, however quickly Jim and I can get shit moving, for episode 131. But it's 132 that's going to be a little bit different.
So you guys are going to see a lot of us next week.
Yep, because for the 5th year in a row, Friday night, Black Friday, 9 p.m., we will see you for the preview of college football's rivalry week. And hopefully to God, the breaking of the 4-game losing streak in the game, which, by the way, could hold playoff implications for both teams again this year, depending on how the next couple weeks go. After that, we've got 1 or 2 shows in December, and then we are off until 2026.
We have 4 shows left this year, and 2 of them are next week, folks.
They're going to get sick of us.
But Mike and I have been talking and here's the funny thing. We've got 2 of them next week. And then the week after, the first week of December, is our last regular show for the year because the 9th, I believe, is going to be the free-for-all.
Yeah, well, we may want to push it to the 16th just because the 9th, we're going to have to break down the playoff brackets. Wait, no, because because that's
so according to the schedule, we're here the 23rd, we're here the 28th. We're not going to be doing the 30th because that's going to be that same weekend. Then we go the 7th, and then the 14th is our final show.
Okay, so the 7th will break down and do the preview for the playoff, which means we've got to get to the boys this week and see if we can get at least one on here. And then the 14th will be the free-for-all when we just,
And then we've got
we'll have the first one.
we've got some major news for you guys during
Big
the free-for-all that we talked about and we agreed to tonight. So enjoy the Wise Guys as you see it now. We're not trying to bury the lead, but enjoy this show as you know it as of now, because 2026 we're changing some things up here a little bit for the better, though.
Yes, and I can also say that on the 30th, the Big Rican single episode will go onto the Wise Guys channel because it will be a profanity-filled tirade. James has already decided to help me. We're going to reach out to a certain band so I can get rights to a song. That is, a couple of F-bombs short of super bad. But
I'm almost wondering, depending on how many you drop when you record it, do I actually just put the TV beeps in there?
No, you put the TV beeps in there when I'm not saying it to see if people think I said it.
That means I got to put the old school, like Ric Flair distorting the WCW belt over your mouth too.
Make me the little emoji with the thing across the thing with the red face.
Better idea. Instead of the beeps, dolphin noise.
Amazing.
I'm gonna have some fun with that one.
I think for that one, you need to pull that clip I sent you so I can use it on that episode.
I mean, I'm gonna have a whole bunch of editing to do that week, so why not?
I mean, please. I'm asking nicely.
I will try to work something in. I'm getting back into the sports notes, so I figure my creative juices are going here a little bit. So yeah, I might be able to swing that.
Awesome. So we will see you guys next Sunday for a regular. Well, I don't think our show's ever regular.
Because we actually have enough fiber in our diets.
Could I have put that on a much higher T for you?
Jackass.
Noted.
We'll see you guys next week and hopefully be able to get to break the 2-hour threshold next week. We just missed it this week.
Damn it, 4 minutes.
So we'll see you guys next Sunday night, and we'll be back with you guys next Friday night. For my partner, Mike Martinez, I am JC Blue Note, Jim Cornetti. We will see you guys in a week.
Good night and big balls.